What up, folks? I am super freaking excited today. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Blue, aka Tyler, as well. And this is, man, I'm freaking pumped because for someone who has not spent a lick on marketing and to see how they're crushing crypto Twitter is just fascinating to me. Plus, you can tell from the content, this dude's genuine. And that's what we do here, man. We are here today to uncover who is this Blue guy and what is DSKDAO all about. A couple housekeeping items before we get into it. Most of you know our world famous Midlife Crisis podcast format, but we'll get to that. Want to reiterate that Maddie Mintz is still here. We're still co-founders of our Midlife Crisis podcast. We have decided on a different strategy this year. We're taking Midlife Crisis to all entrepreneurs outside of Web3, where we really were just focusing on Web3. Lots of reasons why. We won't get into the details, but know that we will continue that podcast. But we are transitioning to Web3 brand as Mikey G NFT. We're going to see a lot more podcasts, solo podcasts from me to cover the who's who of Web3, and we have a massively amazing guest today. With that being said, man, Blue, welcome to the freaking show. How are you doing, dude?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm very excited to do my first video. So if there is any mistakes, I'm learning, all right? And we're going to get into a little bit about that, because that is why I'm actually so successful today, is through the learning, right? You can't be scared to fail. If you're scared to fail, then you know what? You're never going to learn the lessons you need to learn to make those next steps up. And yeah, I'm very excited to get into that. A little bit about my past. I know I have done a little bit of that with Spaces, but this will be more in depth of my personal upbringing and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to get into it.
Dude, and I love you touched on one of the many principles that we talk about all the time is, there's a little mantra: learn, grow, fail, repeat, right? And if you're not doing that, I'm firmly convinced you're slowly dying. So I love that you said that. We're going to talk about a lot of principles. It's funny. There are so many of these age-old principles that everybody talks about, but yet it's for some odd reason so hard to apply, right? Because we know pretty much the base of a lot of keys to success, but it's very difficult to implement that, which comes from hard work over a long period of time, discipline, all of that stuff that we'll talk about. But before we get to the midlife crisis question, we need to start with the real formal introduction. Couple bullet points about the man, the myth, the legend, Blue. Dude was building super successful clans as a young teenager in multiple various games, which is interesting because a lot of people that we talk to in this space, hardcore avid gamers, hence why there's a meta around gaming, because NFTs, token gated stuff just totally makes sense for the industry. I think I read, a couple years ago, they made $2-3 billion on loot crates in Modern Warfare. So why don't we share some of that wealth with the community, right? In addition, big into digital skins, super successful at that. Been in crypto since 2013. You want to talk about an OG? Everyone's like, oh yeah, I entered 2020. Not Blue. Boy has been in it since 2013. In addition, and this is what I love to hear from founders. Listen, nothing against the 21-year-old that hit lightning in the bottle and is really trying to make something. Admirable efforts, doing it right, not scammy. I get that. But Blue, also known as Tyler, has started a successful business. His business was in home care, which seems like a very tough industry to build a successful business in, nor would I ever want to do that. But that speaks volumes of this man to be able to have the grit, determination to take a home care business and turn it into a successful one at that. So that's really the formal introduction. Anything else you want to add there, Tyler? Or are you feeling good about that?
No, that feels good. One bullet point I would like to add too was the fact that I actually homeschooled from grade 1 to grade 10, and I live on a semi-small island off of BC, capital of BC.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I've got a little bit different of a story than most.
Dude, I'm flying up there and we are hanging out in real life. That has to happen.
Let's do it.
That okay, so dude, thank you so much for adding that bullet point. We now know who you are a little bit from the background, but we're gonna dive deeper into that, which brings us to the one and only world famous midlife crisis question. And that is, how did you get to the seat you're sitting in today, my man? Please give us Star Wars episode 1, 2, and 3 to reiterate that episode 1 is your childhood upbringing, influences, mentors at that part of your life. 2 is your professional career. I'm sure we'll talk about your business. And then 3 is your journey in Web3, currently what is happening, especially the hype around what you've built, and then what the next 6 to 12 months looks like. But let's start with episode 1, man. I cannot wait to hear this. Let's roll.
Let's roll. Yeah, so my episode 1 is definitely it takes back to homeschooling, right? So my brother's deadly allergic to peanuts, and so my mom felt like I couldn't take out one kid without taking the other one out. So it was yeah. So it was a bit, and back then, dude, every lunchbox had a peanut butter sandwich. So I can only imagine now as a father how scary
Right.
that would be. So I understand that.
Right.
So I naturally you know, I was at home. I didn't socialize as much. I still had some friends, some homeschooling friends and stuff like that, but I wasn't going to school every single day like people. So I really found my social life in video gaming, right? I very much connected to the online world. And that's why I really feel like it does feel like a second nature to me. So yeah, so that was a lot of my socializing. So it was just hobby, right? Hobby based. And then I started to create these clans, these communities around certain games. And one game I'd like to highlight first is WarCraft 3. So this was before World of Warcraft days. So this was when the game was very alive. World of Warcraft actually ended up killing the game. But yeah, it was something I just honestly was very passionate about. I
Right.
loved bringing people around community, and again, it was a way of socializing, way of learning. I love very strategic games. For people that don't know, Warcraft 3 is a very like micro macro game. So it's not just like you're playing as a character, you're controlling full armies, you're building, and you're attacking other bases, very much like Age of Empires. It was kind of like the next step of that.
Right.
So yeah, so I created a clan around that, Clan Rifa, if anyone wants to look it up. There must be some data points on it
Dude,
somewhere.
there's gotta be someone out there that's like, "Oh my god, he's that guy."
Right, right. Yeah, so as we got all the way up to the first page for competitive scene, our solos and twos, if I remember correctly, we were, I think, ranked 26. I think it was the top 30 were on the first page. That was a really big moment
Big
for
deal.
me. And you know what? I learned a lot, right? So I did everything. And you'll learn more on I didn't really delegate a lot of stuff. I always did it myself. I was very passionate. I always had a neighbor too that always kind of tagged along with these, but he was kind of that he knew me, so he knew he could bend the rules a little bit more. So I
Right.
learned a lot of lessons through that on how to kind of deal with people and make sure that those situations don't make the whole community toxic from it, right? And trying to really manage people. So I learned that at a very young age.
So I'm gonna stop you
Um,
right there
yeah,
because you
yeah.
already said something very fascinating to me. You gotta give me a couple lessons, because there's that's what people don't understand is video gaming is actually you build a lot of life skills through it. So I'd love to hear about that time and like specifically in community building because I think it's totally relevant to Web3, right? Just a couple that come off the top of your head. Um, would love to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it would be really just bringing people around, right? And that's I find what I've been doing and how I've kind of went about DSK is just really bringing other people's passions and bringing them together, right? And finding a common goal and really showing people what I would like out of it. And I was always very upfront about that and
Right,
trying to figure out who can help me, right? I'm just a young kid. I don't even know any of these skills, right? I'm learning it right in the
right.
moment, and really it was bringing those people around me that were skilled, and just, again, trial and error. Like, you'll
Right.
never get it right the first time. I'm
Right.
sorry to tell you. And
Right.
any NFT founders too is, you'll never get it right the first time, but it
Right.
doesn't mean you have to fail, right? It just means that you're going to have some bump in the road, and that's okay, right? You need
Right.
those bumps to really to see what's working and what's not working, and pivot from that, right? And it's exactly, again, traits that I've taken from there, I apply to this day.
Right. Right. No, and I love that, man. And it's so a couple things that I think about when you say these things is just the kind of the sayings, right? Is like fail often, um, learn from that, right? Two, what I love is you always hear this, especially in the corporate world, but you said it in just a better way, which is never be the smartest person in the room, right? Which is really another way of saying, like, dude, just you can't do it all. And I'm a similar personality to you, right? Like, especially from the Web3 side, starting this year, like I'm doing everything myself, and it's already getting kind of overwhelming. But like bringing the people that are passionate about art, that are passionate about project management, that are passionate about social media, along with you that you vibe with is such a powerful thing and underutilized. Um, and then three, I want your take on this because you've done it young and you're trying to do it. You've already like, which is insane, cultivated a community with barely anybody in a Discord and more hype than having 50,000 people in a Discord, right? The community thing, it's always talked about so much in Web3, but unfortunately, I think the interpretation of community is having a Discord of people spamming wag me, I love you, this is great, and that's how community is interpreted a lot, and I hate that. What are your thoughts on community and how it should operate?
I think it really comes down to emotional connection, and that's exactly how I'm building to this day, right? It is where I felt that I've always done so well is bringing that raw emotion out in people and bringing the best out in people and engaging them. Not everyone is going to be, so like in the clans, like Warcraft 3, you'd have your chieftain who was the founder, and then you'd
Mhm.
have shamans under that, which were kind of like the mods. Maybe community manager would be tied into that as well, because there was no higher than that. And then it would go grunts, and then it would go peons, and it's
Right,
really, yeah, gauging people and on what they want out of it. And was that just to be around other people? Is that to try and be in more of a role model role? And really having to learn who's right for that and who's not right for that, right?
right,
Because so many people, even in Web3, so many people want to do it, but they don't realize how much effort, how much work, and how much it really takes to
yeah,
do that, right?
yeah,
And it's a very much easier said than done. And that's what I've learned from that as well, is that I've taken those things, I've seen those things before, and yeah, it feels so like full circle, and that's what I love about it, and that's why I'm so obsessed with it. And
I
we'll go
know,
into a little bit more
dude,
into
I
that
can't
later,
wait.
but
And you sparked a thought with me too, is what you said is critically important. I hold near and dear to my heart, and it breaks my heart that people sometimes go their whole life and can't find that, and that is everybody, I'm firmly convinced, has a superpower, right? Now, if you figure out what that superpower is, that's the question. And a lot of times that superpower comes from insanely good self-awareness, but honestly, at the end of the day, looking in the mirror and having a real conversation with yourself. Because to your point, everyone, and I've said this, which is the funniest thing, is like, I'm in Web3. Guess what I fucking suck at? Investing and flipping, which is like one of the number one things you should be doing, right? But what I'm good is cultivating community, cultivating relationships, and I recognized that very early on. So, my podcast was let's invite people on and have those genuine conversations because that's how I can contribute to the space in an effective way, right? And it's just crazy how many people miss that, and that message cannot be said enough. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, man.
is honestly so important, and I believe that's actually a very strong trait of mine. And one of my superpowers
Right, right.
is bringing
I
the
can tell,
best.
man.
It's bringing honestly the best out in people, and that really comes down to my life. My life it hasn't always been easy. I didn't believe in myself for quite a few years. I had self confidence problems. And I was super hard on myself, super hard on myself. But I got to a point in my life where I just said, okay, I have a crossroad. Do I make excuses and say I can't do this because of these reasons? Or do I just shut up and fucking do it and get better, right? And
Right,
just keep going, right?
right,
Honestly, like, even though how hard it is, I just keep going, right? And that's being a testament to really my life, is that when I'm really focused on something and I want to achieve it, I find a way, honestly,
right,
and that's what it's been through my whole life. And I don't try and focus too much on things that don't mean a lot to me, or that I think that actually have a lot of potential.
right.
And that's why I was being in crypto for so long, right? And
Yeah,
there's been times where no one was like, there's no way the government's going to allow this. Like, what are you
right,
talking about? Like, there's
right.
no way. And but I never lost that focus, right, on the things that I really felt dear to me.
Mhm.
And it's honestly done wonders for me throughout my life. A lot of my life is because why I'm here today is because of those things, and not, and just, yeah, pushing through the wall, right? um
Right. It's so hard to do, and that is
yeah,
how you have
yeah,
so I have an interesting question about that, right? Is because I think I think some people are inherently just born with things, right? And one could be that just like somehow undying drive, being able to focus. Do you feel like that was a trait that you kind of born with, or was it a learned trait? And if it was a learned trait, what do you think help bring that about?
I definitely learned trait. I wasn't.
Yeah,
I just wasn't born with that. And it comes down to, again, what we were speaking about is those failures, right?
right,
Is that crossroad where I've just always, you know what? We all have bad stories about our lives, right? I'm sure we
right,
all can say these stories, but it's just, you got to put those aside, right? And just focus on getting past those, and just know the bad times don't make you for who you are. They can shape you into who you can be,
yeah,
right? And that's what it really is been about through my life.
yeah,
I would be the first one to say I've struggled a lot, but at the same time, I'm grateful for those struggles.
yeah,
Those struggles have made me who I am today, and if I didn't have those struggles, I
yeah,
wouldn't be who I am. And I'm very proud of the person I am today, and I always try and lead with good morals, and I'm very consistent with that because those things matter to me, right? The
right,
people around me matter to me.
right,
I'm not willing to to push people aside just to further my career, when that is pretty much the business world. I learned that it is a fucking cutthroat business, a
mm,
cutthroat space, right? Not even just Web3, just
yeah,
business in general, man. People are used to using people, pushing them aside, and continue going on. And again, we'll get into it, but that's exactly how I'm building, is trying to be different than that, right? Where I'm trying to just, we're not just doing collabs and stuff like that. We're trying to make meaningful partnerships, and
right,
build with people that I genuinely think that are going to be here for the years to come, because
right,
that's what I see. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I don't quit easily, especially when it's something I'm very passionate about. And there's nothing, like, honestly, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to retire. This is, and not even just for like a money standpoint. Just going back to my past, it is literally me. That's what I grew up on, and it just feels honestly surreal to think that I can even get to that point, because after those instances and doing those things, I started growing up, right? I was in teenager, like, so, like, I'll explain a little bit too. After the Warcraft 3, I transitioned into Counterstrike Source, and
mhm,
I created I still love this name, by the way. I was actually recently looking it up to see if there's any data I can do.
Right.
But it was called Infected Gaming. I still
Yeah.
love that name.
I love it.
And we were a Dust 2 server. So it was this is when Counterstrike used to do self-hosting servers. Now
Okay.
they still do this to some extent, but it's not nearly as popular as it was before. This was
Right.
used to be the only way you could play the game, is
Yeah.
join other people's servers that they've created. And I'm not a developer by trade. So I actually had to find these skills, these people, and help build me, or sorry, help build this with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so and even to this day, like actually, I'm just realizing it, how actually pretty significant it was. I never really realized the extent of how far I actually took these things at
Right.
such a young age, until I started building in Web3 and just be like, wow, the stuff I did was, I was outpacing like businesses, corporations, some of the largest clans. Like in Counter-Strike, we were in the top, I believe it was like 160-ish, around there, for
Right.
most active servers.
That's amazing.
And that's out of a lot of servers. And then in Steam, Steam too, we were in the top 800 for most active Steam servers. So they if anyone doesn't know, they are a game platform. So they have a bunch of games under them. And so, yeah, I was in the top 1,000 for all of their games.
Yeah.
I actually monetized it as a young age too. I was selling an admin for $5 a month, just
Love
for,
it.
and all it did was give you an extra skin
Yeah.
and give you some powers. Like you could do like some crazy chat. You could kick people if they're being too extreme, but I monitored that stuff so people didn't kind of abuse the power and
Abuse
just
it.
wanted
Yeah.
to buy power. My
Right.
friend was abusing it. I did find out later that he was being a
I'm
little
sure.
shithead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember this to this day too. I was just, I think I was just about to turn 16. I was 15, and this grown man sent me $100 on PayPal. It was like, what? He
Yeah.
just sent me $100. Like,
Right.
what? And I
What?
was like, just so shocked. And I, at the time, I pulled up my money and bought my girlfriend at the time a ring. Not with her anymore. Not with the promise ring didn't work.
Dude,
But
that story right there, though, just shows your character, right? Like, $100 is 16. You're like, "I'm going to get a freaking Nintendo game immediately," and you go buy your girl a ring. Congrats on
yeah.
you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. But yeah, and so I monetized it. But again, I just was growing up, girlfriend. I was playing football, so I
Yeah.
naturally kind of grew out of being on the video games, because you know what, those things take a lot of time. Just like Web3, I'm
Oh,
used to
yeah.
that. You gotta grind, right? Especially creating a community. It isn't easy, no matter
Yeah.
where you do it. Web3 is difficult. It makes it a little bit easier to buy into communities and stuff like that. But
Right.
community building is some of the toughest stuff you can do if you're doing it
100%.
from zero to something, right? And grabbing that attraction, and you know what I mean? Just, yeah, bringing in those initial people. Just like when you're growing an account on Twitter or something, that it is extremely hard to get people to believe in you, and then it naturally gets easier as you go.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it just, the challenges change and are different. But yeah, it has honestly taught
Question
me yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, all this stuff is really, honestly, I believe, bootstrapped me a lot with this. I am still learning, and I would always say that. Like I made a tweet out today. I was saying that I wasn't nervous about this until I saw the video, and the video threw me off a little bit. But I'm good now. I'm good now. But yeah, it's just getting out of your comfort zone, right? I'm used to
Right.
building community, being behind a screen. Now I'm showing myself more. I was never really big on social media. I didn't really care about that stuff. I
Right.
wasn't one person like posting pictures all the time. And it
Yeah.
just wasn't that. That's just not the person I am.
Yeah.
I love living behind the persona too. That's why I think PFP is never going to go anywhere. Don't
Yeah.
let anyone fund your PFP.
Dude,
they ain't going
I do
nowhere.
love the PFP too. Like, I'm glad I picked the Plague,
Yeah.
because I think Pawns and them represent both of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and yeah, so that was kind of like my gaming kind of experience. I did do other clans and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, another thing too, I will explain is a lot of that inspiration of art actually comes from my childhood of early
Yeah.
Blizzard days. So you'll see a
Mhm.
combination of like modern, traditional, and fantasy added into it. So a lot of the inspiration came from Warcraft 3. So you'll see a lot of elf ears and stuff like not what you normally see on these anime collections, just because it's so dear to me personally.
Right.
But then you'll also see like kind of like the Diablo days a little bit and like StarCraft. So I'm kind of like really molding those worlds together where Blizzard never did that. They always kept those worlds very separate. So I'm really excited for our art to continue to progress.
I love it,
Progress.
man.
Yeah, it's so our first mint is going to be membership art, which is going to be different than what you normally see. I'm trying my best to be innovative in everything I do. I don't want to follow someone else's blueprint
Right.
or someone else's successes. I want to be my own blueprint. I
Right.
want to because I think that it takes that special creative mind to think outside the box. Just because something else was a success doesn't mean it's sustainable success either, right? And that's what
100%.
we've saw. That's what we saw a lot, right? And that the models of yesterday just weren't working, right? Why is nine or pretty much all collections failing? Yes, it's to do with market conditions, of course, but
Right.
you know what I mean. If they had a sustainable business model, they're not going to crash as much, in which you have seen other ones. So
Yep.
it is very much not my business model to sell NFTs, and that's kind of why we've started off with a free mint as well.
Right.
We will be a SaaS product, but I'm sure we can go into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm
I'm
gonna
skipping some episodes.
purposely cut you off because you're jumping to episode 3,
I know.
and I
Sorry.
still got a couple questions. So I the first one is, and then we can move on because I think we're getting a good segue into a more professional career. You covered your gaming influences. I probably have like 3 questions. So the first one is, this is really back in the beginning because I'm really interested in this because I didn't go to homeschooling, and you used video games to socialize, right? And kind of build that because you need social interaction. Like we're we're social humans at the core of what we are. We need to be around people. Uh, do you think there's a big difference between the kind of the face-to-face interaction and how you grew up to homeschool and advantages or disadvantages? Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, that's a good question because most homeschoolers are very awkward, right?
Right.
Honestly, I'm like a weird combination of an introvert and an extrovert. I'm
Right.
like very much more on the introvert side of things, but I always had that bubbly kind of personality where
Right.
I can connect to people pretty good. And just yeah, it's yeah, it's tough, right? I guess it's yeah, I know that's a tough question. I guess a little
It's
bit of
okay. If you don't
yeah,
have an
yeah.
answer, I was just interested if anything came off the top of your head. And if you don't have an answer, that's totally fine. I do ask, like I said in the beginning, we're going deep, man. We're going deep.
Yeah,
So,
no, I appreciate it. I appreciate
some people get thrown off by like, damn, dude, that's a deep question. Like, are we in a therapy session or something? What's going on here?
it.
You can tell me, bro, that's just too much. I don't have an answer for you.
No, yeah, no, honestly, it was just because I'm just trying to just relay my own life.
Right,
And I guess there was a little bit of both, really. I
right,
was confident, but very shy and not confident at the same time. Like,
right,
I felt like maybe very confident around friends, but like public speaking, video, stuff like that, I never liked doing.
right.
I was very much that type. I really like pretty much uh, like people you see on the online, right? Keyboard warriors, right? Where
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
confident until that. A little bit of that, I guess. We're
yeah.
not too extreme, but yeah, a little bit of
So
that.
no, that's good insight, and I appreciate the thoughts there. I think my next one, and then we can move on to kind of like the working years and past the games is any far as like influence, whether it be your parents, an uncle, a grandparent, any stories you have there that think like
Ooh.
really kind of impacted the way that you think or values that you hold because of them?
Yeah, well, I'm a mama's boy.
Okay.
My mom,
Okay.
honestly, my dad and I never really had a good, like, he was always in my life, but
Right.
we never really had that father and son kind
Right.
of bond where I always felt like I just felt like there was a disconnect a lot,
Right.
where I just
Right.
naturally gravitated to my mom, and my mom is a lot like me, right? I try and be like my mom. She's
Right.
honestly such a lovely, caring person that's always thinking of others before her, and if I want to just be a fraction of that, right? Like, and it
Right.
just I want to make her proud. For people that don't know, she somehow found me on Twitter X. Like, I wouldn't give her mine for so long. I was just like, no, no, you're not gonna look at my posts every day. Like, there's no way I'm giving you that. And then one day she freaking followed me. I'm like, how did you find me? And she's like, you're blue. I'm just like, oh my, oh my goodness.
That's
So I don't know
amazing.
if it's creepy or bullish, but my mom found me without giving my socials.
I'm bullish. I'm the same way, definitely a mama's boy, and I mean, I just remember like, some of my fondest memories, like, my mom, she had a daycare that ran out of the home, that was a way we got some extra money, so, like, all the kids were always over, and, like, Friday nights were dance party nights, and we'd have, like, 15 kids in our living room just dancing around, and, like, she was the person that you wanted to be, and her energy was just amazing. And I was actually the opposite. I was like, "Mom, I'm starting to stream. I better see you in chat." And she's like, "I don't know what I'm doing." But, she would totally, like, that's such the mom move where, like, we stream on Twitch live too. So it's like YouTube, Twitch, and X. We'll do a simulcast stream, and everyone's going like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're having chats back and forth, and all of a sudden, here comes a paragraph, right? Mom has, like, sat here for, like, 15 minutes thinking this out. A lot of it's, like, how much she loves me and how great of a
No.
human I am. But it's just so funny to see your parents and older people interact with technology. But then, that's great to hear, and you know, I think we're very similar, in a lot of aspects, and I immediately got the kinda, warm, genuine, bubbly character, which is cool to have because I think I've experienced, because people describe me in the same way, is that it gives you this, like, without saying it, I can tell you, "Hey, man, you can trust me. Like, I'm
Mhm.
genuinely care about you. I genuinely mean what I'm saying." It gets rid of that uneasiness of, like, we're having this heartfelt conversation, and we've talked on Twitter, right? And
Mhm.
we're able to do that because, of the personalities and the people that we are, and, that's not lost on me, and I don't think it should be lost on you because I feel the same exact, way about you, man, and that is such an amazing trait to have as a leader, and a founder of a company, so props to you, dude.
I appreciate that. And I actually did think of one more thing too, where
Yeah.
I guess the inspiration did come from. So my mom, she owns a hair salon in one of the retirement homes I actually work out of.
Uh-huh.
So very much that I saw her with her own business doing that, and how successful she could be with only working a couple days. So her goal was to work 2 days a week, but make the amount of money where if she was having kind of a full-time job or something like that, and
Right,
she was very successful. And so
right,
I actually volunteered a lot because I homeschooled in
right.
retirement homes. So I actually grew up there, and that's another reason too of why the business that I built, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, a lot of that inspiration came from seeing that, and just on how she is as a person, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
just trying to be a bit like that.
Dude, that's thank you for sharing that story, but that makes total sense as well, like, you can't, I think, do, more than, like, living it, right? Like,
Hmm.
my mother-in-law is been a lifelong teacher and educator, and she ended up as, like, a CTO of a huge school district, but when she interacts with my, son, I'm like, she absolutely is she is so good at, like, bringing him along for the ride, showing him, talking to him, like all of these things that I think you should be doing. She's really, really good at it. And what I'm getting at is there's no better learning lesson than jumping into it and seeing, especially someone that you love and you care about, like learning those lessons from. So that's so cool that she kind of took you along for the ride for that.
Mhm.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I knew you were gonna crush it. That is one
I
of the
appreciate
more entertaining episode ones I've had in a long time,
it.
and I really appreciate anything else you wanna share before we kinda move into more of the professional career past, video games, or you feel good about it?
Yeah, no, no, I'll go a little bit to so yeah. So when I said I was very successful in digital skins, so I did a lot of trading in those. I one very successful trade, I actually got like crypto like gains in Counterstrike. So it was what was it? It was before CS:GO. So it's the same game, but it's transitioned a few
Right,
different times into different games.
right,
I got into like at the beginning of it. So they're actually they actually created digital skins and the want for that. They created the loot boxes system. This was the first rendition of it, and they created an ecosystem around it, and I got so addicted to it. I
right.
love it. Like I love charts. I love trading. I all I did with Diablo 2 before too, when I was younger, I would trade all day long. So I learned those skills of bartering,
Right,
just talking to people. You could say hustling. I was
right.
in there just literally like homeschooling kid, just trying to trade up my items and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Dude,
it
I
was
wish my co-founder was here because before I told you we started streaming, we actually played video games and we played Elder Scrolls Online, and this son of a bitch would sit in this game for 8 hours trying to find the best deals in a virtual market, right? Like, he just loved it, and he's always telling me like, "Hey, bro, I got this potion for, like, 10% off." I'm like, "I don't care. I just wanna shoot things and slash things." Totally just a tangent, but yeah, I totally get you because my best friend is the same person.
yeah. And it was just fun, right? I found entertainment, and you know what, actually it leads me to this too. This was actually the first time I kind of experienced a scam. So
Ooh,
I got to I was again all the video games I played, I took very serious.
yeah,
And I traded, like I said, all day. Like I would put in 8 hours of trading, like
right.
trading people up. And then this clan, this guy who was really good, was like, "Hey, you want to come to this clan? Blah blah. You got to duel me first." We did these things, and then he got me to download something, dude. I still remember it. I'll never forget it. So I downloaded something. This is again, I didn't know about scams, I didn't know about viruses and stuff like that. So I downloaded this thing, and I had to literally watch my screen drop all of my items. And what I should have done was turn off my PC, and that would have actually left me from the game, and he wouldn't have been able to take everything. I had to literally watch, and that's again like wallet drains. It was gut wrenching,
Devastating.
gut wrenching. It was devastating. It was all I did every day. It was literally years of work just evaporated
Uh,
within seconds. Really, it was dude. Honestly, I was heartbroken.
yeah,
It took a toll on me. It was the first experience that I got, and that's why I haven't been drained in Web3. I knock on wood. I've
right, right.
never, and I've been in crypto for a really long time, is because I've experienced that. I experienced
Yeah,
at a really young age that people are out to get you, even if they're trying to act like your friend. You always have to be careful. And
100%.
just and yeah, that was like the kind of like it was yeah. You
And
got
you
to
bring
sometimes learn the hard way, right? And that's with a lot of these Web3 stuff. As shitty as it sounds, most people get at least drained once, because
yeah,
you just need to learn those things, because you don't take it as serious as you should, right?
yeah.
When you're new, and you know what, you're trying new things, you're not as yeah, you're just not aware of these people, and I've just always been, from that point, I learned my lesson from scammers, and I just was very much more cautious about things.
Yeah.
I don't click links anymore, and I don't download anything.
No, no. And
Uh,
I'm glad you bring that up because it's a great analogy for the other things that we were talking about in the beginning is like, and I think we were talking about this before we even got on stream, but you know, the basic principles for success, and let's keep it in business, right? Like we were saying, like hard work over a long period of time. People think a long period is a year. No, I'm talking a decade, right? Self-awareness, figuring out your superpower, all of those things. It's unfortunate, but a lot of times, even though the writing is there and the writing's on the wall on how to be successful, you just have to experience yourself. And sometimes it is the negative things like getting rugged. But I will say that one way to prevent it, either prevent it or make it not happen as often, is surround yourself with the right people, right? And I think that is one of the many reasons why people are attracting to your brand so much. And that's why I've been able to cultivate a very small community but super passionate, right? And I've been doing this for almost 3 years now, and it's interesting to me because the Web3 space, especially, you know, the last couple of weeks, there's been some people calling out founders and stuff. They're getting sick of it now, right? And they're wanting to see that the Mikes and the Blues of the world. And I think we're going to have a really good ride over the next couple of years because if you surround yourself with the right people, especially in a space like this, you can really do some cool things. Any thoughts
yeah,
there?
honestly, yeah, and it's honestly incredible to see that we're kind of shifting to that more of that meta, because in the past, even when I was building, real builders were not respected. People
Right,
didn't give a shit. Like, oh, you're actually trying to build product? Fuck that. That's not gonna pump my bag.
right.
Where, you know what I mean, people wanted that easy, quick flip. Hey, in and out, not hey, you know what? Blue wants you to actually participate and grow emotional connection with people. It just, we were doing it differently,
Yeah,
and I was doing it at a time that it was frowned upon. Honestly, I was told by quite a few different people the way I'm doing it is pretty stupid, or not. They didn't use stupid, but they were just saying like, come on, like, you know what I mean? You could do this differently. This, like, why such a small supply? Yada yada
yeah,
yada yada.
yeah,
Where again, I was just focused on how I felt like I could do it successfully, and I knew that I was willing to put in at least 3 years of not doing anything, making money or anything like that. I was willing to put in some serious time into it.
yeah,
That was kind of like when I first started. I was like, okay, 3 years. If it's still just not a success, or just no one really cares about that, that's what I'll give my time. And
yeah,
and that's a lot. Like, you know, most people they'll give it to mint, and that's about it. Where
yeah,
right
yeah,
where I've kind of taken a different approach at it.
yeah,
I was willing to just put my all into it, right? And
yeah,
and I knew no matter what, even if it didn't work out the way I wanted to work out, that there is no failure here, that I would become a better version of myself. And I've already seen that. And you know what? We haven't failed yet. So
yeah,
so it's a win-win right now. And yeah, doing these type of things, right? Getting out of my comfort zone, because I know those things are essential, right? Essential to being a
absolutely.
founder, essential to the project that I do these type of things, even though I don't feel comfortable in them. And yeah, I'm excited, right? And that's where it's not my nerves speaking all the time. It is a little bit of excitement, but it's also not getting ahead of yourself, because I've done that. I got too excited, and then the
Yeah,
nerves shoot back, and it really puts you in check. But
right,
yeah, I'm just trying to take it stride by stride, and I tell that to my audience and our community too, is that I'm gonna fuck up. I'm going
right,
to, but you know what matters the most is we're gonna learn from that, and we're gonna be better because of it. And I
100%.
think that's so valuable in that, is that, yeah, not to have unrealistic expectations of me, and that, you know what, I am human. And the fact that I'm going to just, we're going to talk about it, right? We're going to get through it, right? And that's what matters the most. And if you see successful businesses and collections and stuff like that, there's FUD everywhere. There's not one project that hasn't been FUDed for something, right? And that
100%.
yeah, it's just, yeah, I encourage the FUD because you know what, that's another thing too, is that a lot of people, they shun the shot of the FUD, or they don't want to hear it. But you know what, there's reason into everything. Why are they feeling that way? There's something that's made them feel that way, and
Yeah.
it's my job to find if it's actually constructive, if it's actually non-toxic,
Right.
is it meaningful, like why feeling that way. And yeah, I take the time out for those
Yeah.
people, and just maybe not in the general chat. If it's like constant toxic messages, it'd be like, okay, well, let's go into the DM. I will be and that's one trait that I've always had that I feel like has done me well in my life, is the humility. I'm not afraid to say when I screw up or something like that, and I own it, right? And I think that's where a lot of founders go wrong, is that they try and either hide it or pretend like, yeah, pretend like it never happened, or just move past it, or don't try to realize what actually went wrong. And I like to analyze those things. I like to analyze the bad, and a
Yeah,
lot of people do.
or make
Yeah.
Twitter threads with an explanation, which is a bunch of hot air, like things like
Yeah.
that are, you know, not the right things. Dude, you said so many amazing things there. Two things I want to point out is I truly believe everything happens for a reason, but I also truly believe everything happens for a reason if you put work behind it, right? Um, so I'm getting at, you've been working for a while, and isn't it funny that the narrative in the space is changing to align with the narrative of your project and what you stand for at the right times when you're really thinking about mini. And that happened for a reason, because of your hard work, but also for what you stand for. So I just wanted to point that out because I think that's really cool how that happens. And then two, when we were talking about surrounding yourself like with the right people to help shield you from, because I'm in the same position, right? Like I don't know, uh, other than a PFP, I can analyze your Twitter social profile and see if you're okay. But then I have a conversation and I got to take your word for it. And I have a 15-minute conversation. Now I'm inviting you on an intimate hour and a half show, thinking like, hopefully this works out, because that's a big chunk of time to be spending and it not work out. And yet I have never had a really awkward situation. And I think it goes to prove like the process and the rigor that I put in it too. But I
Mhm.
surround myself with the good people, because a lot of the leads came. PJ, who is a diehard member of mine and is a PJ08, I think is his actual handle.
Oh, dude, I love PJ.
Yeah. So,
Dude, I
and
love
he's
PJ.
a hardcore member of yours, and, you know, the reason why we're talking is because of him, right? And he knew immediately, he was like, "Dude, Mikey has to talk to Blue, because I know they're gonna have a great conversation." And sure enough, here we are, thanks to those people, because we're surrounding ourselves with the right people, and it's so critically important. So, just a couple thoughts as you were talking. Amazing conversation, man. Amazing conversation. But I definitely wanna let's move on to episode 2 after
Mhm.
CS:GO. Amazing lessons about what founders should be thinking about, getting scammed, surrounding yourself with the real or the right people. I'd love to hear about kind of the skill set you built building a business, a successful cleaning business, and then we can get into the Web3 portion of things as well.
Yeah, yeah. So my home care business. So it's not cleaning. It's
All right.
I take care of. No, no, it's all good. I take care. So I have some schooling backing it. So um, again, going back to the retirement home, so I was there. I worked in every single job. So I did dishwasher, I did dietary, I
Right.
did housekeeping, and I just kept working my way up there. And then I had to go back to schooling to start working with the residents. And the job title that I had was RCA. It's a registered care aide. It's
Yep.
one under a nurse.
Yep.
So I wanted to, again, just do my gradual steps up, and that's just who I am as a person. I like to just kind of continue to kind of level up. I don't like just to jump into the deep end, just who I am.
Right.
So yeah, so I went back, and I was working with this job, and I just felt like, you know what, I'm doing all the work. I'm doing all the work. I want to go into nursing, but To go into nursing is going to be another 2 years, another $20,000, and my pay raise is only going to be like $5 or $6. So it's like, do I really spend all that money to do that? Or I could go into RN, which is another 4 years and a lot more money, but I get paid like I'd say $20 extra.
Right.
And I was like, that was kind of the whole goal of it. I was just going to go kind of gradually up. And then I just realized, or actually I didn't realize, I had a resident's family member come up to me and was like, hey, you're honestly, every time I see you, you're always caring about me. You're always coming up to me. Would you watch my husband, or not watch, sorry, would you take care of my husband and take him out for walks and do more personal care with him? And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is actually something I've been wanting to do with the business. So I went to my managers and like, we love you, but we cannot let you do this because it's what's the word I'm looking for? When there's money involved, it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So that you couldn't be getting paid from a resident, because then who's to say that I would favor him over other residents because you're paying me, you know what I mean, to keep them happy.
Right.
And they said, we want you to be successful. And they just said the only way you can do this is by quitting this job. So what I did was, at that time I was still working 2 jobs. So I kept with my other job, which was a community support worker. So we were working with people with all different type of challenges in the community. So so I was already used to that type of work. So I used that as kind of my crutch, just to be able to still pay my mortgage, because we were just bought our first condo. So it was very important that I still made money while trying to scale up this business.
Right.
So I started with one client, and honestly, again, I spent nothing on marketing. And this is, I guess, a reason why I've done the things I've done, is that it was just through word of mouth and just doing a good job. It honestly spread like wildfire. And then I got to the point where I was able to quit my other job. I was working more than full time. I literally couldn't even take on more clients. And I do this as sole proprietorship. So for the people that don't know what that means, is I do obviously everything. I do the invoicing, I do the working, I do dealing with the clients, dealing with the family members. I do absolutely everything. I didn't have any employees. And I actually scaled this up to, I was making, I think my peak was just under $100,000 a year. And I was just about to get into getting employees and stuff like that. But I hired some employees and they were just terrible. It became more of a headache than it alleviated anything, right?
Yeah.
And I just felt like, okay, I'm dealing with people. This is, you know what I mean? It's a lot harder to scale up than like something like in Web3, where if something goes wrong, that it's on me, right? If someone affects someone's actual well-being, it's on me. Where I just felt it was really hard to scale, and I was very passionate about it. I was very happy with where I was at, and that's where I kind of just naturally was started to transition into Web3 more. I just felt like it was something I was still very passionate about. I was very passionate with people, community, and stuff like that. But I felt like I could actually scale this up into something that's bigger than just me. And that's kind of like my natural transition kind of into this. I still do this business to to help pay my mortgage, and I've done this while building this project. I'm now recently starting to scale it out a little bit, just because I take care of my daughter as well too. So I'm doing everything. I'm nonstop, really, every single day. Like if I get an hour to myself on the couch, it's that's like a weekend for me.
Right. I feel you, brother, for having a 5-month-old full-time job and trying to build this Web3 stuff as well, man. It's a lot.
Yeah, and another thing too is it just I could have just made a rug like everyone else and made a bunch of money and ran off and stuff like that. But I that's not me. I wasn't gonna try and fundraise from taking money from other people. I would prefer having a third job and Web3 be a fail than me to deceive the people that honestly are the closest to me in this space. Like I don't even know how other people can even do it. Honestly, it just, I guess they just never really had that emotional connection with their community, and I think that's where it's different with me. Those people are like my number one. Like they're mean everything to me, right?
You bring up a good point there too, is, you know, a lot of people were approaching Web3 as almost a different form of a Kickstarter, right? But where
Mhm.
I do think it is really special is how you're treating it is you can create for the first time ever this solely online token gated intimate community that really helps each other out, and it's the next evolution of brand, right? Brand is now community. Like, listen, like, I love craft beer, right? But if my local craft brewery is trying to promote brand through community, let's be honest, I'm just gonna buy the beer and go home, right? But if you're in it to win it together, um, it creates such a different way to grow a brand. And perfect example, the $0 on marketing and organically spreading online. That is not possible if we're talking about insurance or we're talking about all of these other kind of corporatized Web 2 companies. And this whole evolution is fascinating to see. So I'm glad you brought that up. I just thought that was another thought that came in my mind.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And yeah, it's just it is. And that's what excites me too, is that we're in kind of the unknown, right? And that's another example of why you should be okay with making mistakes, right? No one knows the correct answer, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is if you're following other people's blueprints and they don't work, you're gonna end up at the same destination, right?
And I'll
Where
tell you 99% of them haven't worked.
no,
So
I know, and people are still honestly, we're seeing a bit of a shift, but people still are doing the kind of the same techniques. I actually love to see it, and I know I think the space doesn't see it as much as I do, but like
right.
I believe DSK has started kind of like a new shift, and I know how they really bring in a community before Mint. Like I got told by someone too, like, dude, you cannot make a community before Mint. Like you're wasting your time. They're just gonna floor it, and the people that are gonna buy it are your actual community. You cannot. It's impossible to have community before Mint. And I
Right.
was like, no, 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 you can't tell me that. I believe that I can build a useful product that encourages people to hold, but also it encourages where you don't have to leave that emotional connection, where you have people that you enjoy being around. And that's what's so important to me. When I got
Yep.
into Web3, there was a couple communities like that. I lost a lot of money on those, but they didn't have that business structure. They thought
Right.
that just dropping NFTs was enough. Like,
Yep.
dude, we can just keep dropping NFTs. They're, you know what I mean? They keep buying them, but that's not sustainable.
Right.
And that's why I'm trying to build practical products, and that's not even just tied around Web3
Right.
and NFTs. I'm building products that help build communities, and that can be applied, like you said, so many places. There's a reason why every Walmart and or sorry, not Walmart, every McDonald's and fast food restaurant is now rewarding people with points, is because we're
Right.
moving to that type of economy where people want incentive to be
Yeah.
there. And I'm doing it in a way that incentivizes people, but then grows that emotional connection between users and creators. And
Yep.
that's why I do believe that our products are different than a lot you see in this space, is because I'm looking at it at a completely different mindset,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
unique to me and what I've done. And I've taken instances of these past buildings, of these past clans and stuff like that, and I'm applying what I've learned in the past. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I'm a step ahead of most people in this space, is
Yep.
because I've had those skills. And I'm not saying I'm a step ahead in like development and business standpoint, because I am learning a lot. I'm always learning. Um, and yeah, it just I have a very unique mindset, and that's why I've brought in the people that I know I need to bring in, those skills that really boast where I don't, and that really kind of help keep the structure of it up, where I feel like I'm weak, I'm bringing in the people that feel like that's their best suit, right? Where put together, nothing can stop us, really, honestly.
Yeah, man, I might have to talk to you after this about maybe me helping you out with these, casual interviews for the brand because I feel like that's where I could help you out, so maybe we'll
Yeah,
have a talk later. But you
100%.
said something, um, which you cannot express this enough, and it is the way that you're thinking about Web3, which is this shift that we're really starting to see literally over the last couple months when you said that people told you, no, you can't build a community and then eventually launch an NFT, but that's actually the right way to do it. The missing piece is what you said, though, is you're building ways to generate revenue. Whereas before it was create hype, launch an NFT. But the problem with that model is the instant the floor drops, your community is gone. And now you
Mhm.
have no way to sustain. So all you're doing is reversing that equation, which creates long-term prosperity, which ultimately creates the true happiness in the space and is the main opportunity. So I love how you describe that, and I just wanted to reiterate it because people need to hear that. And
Appreciate
listen,
it.
again, I'm not going to be naive to the fact that there's just a lot of people here that want to make money quick and flip, right? They're
Yep,
hoping that
yep.
they hit the board ape and that they become a millionaire overnight. And there are people that do that, especially, I mean, shit coins are shit coins for a reason, right? Someone has made a lot of money once. They share that story, and everyone else thinks they can do the same thing. That will never go away, and that is fine.
Mhm.
But I am interested in the blues of the world and the Mikey G's that are creating the content, I think the right way for the long haul.
Mhm.
And it's really great to just meet another mind like that.
No, I appreciate it, and I appreciate your efforts because, like you said, those people are needed, right? I felt like too, if someone isn't going to do it, who else is, right?
Right,
And someone needs to stand up. Someone
right,
needs to start putting in the hard work and put in
100%.
those efforts before. And that's what I'm just trying to do. I'm trying to lead by example, and I do. And I've since the beginning, I believe this, and I still do to this day. Is that I think some of the biggest talent's going to come out of DSK is because we're going to kind of just we're going to put our minds together, right? And I've already seen that. I hire everyone out of our community,
Right.
and I want to kind of help them along their journey because a lot in my life too is that I had a lot of struggles, but I did those struggles on my own.
Yep.
I never really looked for help through those, and I just kind of put my head down. But I know how difficult that is, right? And how much, if you do have help from others, how much easier it actually can be. And I want to be that help for people, and that not only for our community, but the tools and products that we're actually building. I'm not going to be releasing these at like crazy prices. I want to have them at such an affordable price that really fosters those type of people. It doesn't push them away. It really bands them together because again, I'm just coming from as a very community NFT enthusiast. Like I just loved being a part of the community, but I always felt like I was taken advantage of, and I
Yeah.
just want to do my best to try and help push those people that actually mean well forward. And if you really, like you said, everyone has their own superpower, right? And it's so true, right? And it's just finding that. It's finding that belief in ourselves, and magic can happen after that. And if the wrong people are always getting pushed, or there's so many gatekeepers, and that's why I think you'll never see me kind of collabing with these influencers and all these people that get absolutely every single opportunity in the space. It just, if I were to do that and provide those people, yes, I could get a lot more hype. Yes, DSK could be fucking going crazy, but that just it takes away from what I believe should be done in the space, and that should be supporting the smaller people in it, because those are the people that honestly harness so much power, and a lot of the times are just the genuine type of people, and I want to see those people win, man.
Yeah.
The nice guy does usually finish last. It really
Yeah.
is true.
It's so
And
unfortunate.
I've dealt with that my whole life, right? And
Yeah.
I just want to help kind of push the good people forward and help
Right.
give them the tools and strength to really see that in themselves, because I know when I learned that and I finally saw that in myself, how much my world changed.
Yeah.
And I hope to do that for people.
Dude, I got chills, man. Like we're kindred spirits, brothers from another mother. A couple things there that you said. Um, people have heard this story, but I went through a major depressive order, and the only reason I am here today is because of the support network, right?
Mhm,
And you building a community with the main intention of like supporting each other, like going through tough. I always say this, like, listen, man, if I was born in the ghetto and I didn't have a dad and my mom was like addicted to drugs and I went through what I went through, I understand why horrible shit in this world happens,
mhm,
right? Like there is a 0.00001% chance that I would have ever made it through that without support network, which makes me even appreciate more people that have gone through horrific shit by themselves
mhm,
and have somehow gotten through the other side. That person is way more admirable than Elon Musk to me or any other billionaire that
mhm,
people, freak out about. That person is the true GOAT, right? And the
mhm,
fact that one of your main intentions is to cultivate and create this community, like you said, the power of that is unbelievable and it's so magical, the things that can happen with that. So, like, I just, again, totally resonate and I appreciate that message. And more people need to hear that because dude, you can't do it alone. It's impossible. Life is pretty much impossible if you're stuck doing it alone. Even if the people that have gotten through it alone at very hard times, you cannot indefinitely last like that forever. You will eventually break. So finding the right people to surround yourself with is so freaking critical, and I love it, man. Just got me super
yeah.
jazzed up.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, and honestly, that goes back to really my career too in the field that I work in. I work with vulnerable people
Right.
in all ages. So I've worked with vulnerable children, vulnerable teenagers, all the way to elderly, right? And I see it. People take advantage of those people, and it is brutal. I've seen some crazy stuff. I've heard some crazy stories, and that's why I have a hard time where yeah, no, I won't go into anything, but yeah, it is. I've seen some
Yeah.
crazy, or I've heard some crazy things, and if they can get through it, it's like, man, like, yeah, the world is, yeah, it's a tough place, but
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people have seen a lot of crazy things, and it just, yeah, it means a lot to me, right? To just support people because we all have our own story, and it's unique to that person. But yeah, I just want to be a very supportive person, and I know how much beauty can come from that. Really is, and
Mhm.
it changes lives,
Yeah.
and that's what I really hope to do. I hope not only to change my life in this and make this a career, a full-time career of mine, but I want to make it a career for everyone else. And I've structured DSK in a way where the only way I can be a success is if other people around me are a success.
I love it, man. And one of the things, the last thing that popped up, about what you said, and I think maybe this is a mantra me and you start together on Twitter and we just hammer this into people. Uh, it is true, and it hurts my soul to say it, that the nice guy 99 out of 100 times finishes last, and it's just not fair, and it pisses me off. But one of the ways you can combat that is exactly what we talked about. Nice guys usually don't finish last if they have a community and resources behind them, right? And if you're just the solo nice guy, you're absolutely going to finish last, but you can support yourself with community connections to actually flip that equation. And I think we should start spreading the word.
I
Nice
fucking love
guys
it,
don't finish
dude.
la nice guys don't finish last with Midlife Crisis and DSK because we're a community of helpers, genuine
Mhm.
people, and lovers, and we're gonna break through that fucking barrier.
Dude, I absolutely love that.
Unbelievable conversation. Uh, don't wanna miss the opportunity, of course, though, to talk about Web3, what you're doing with DSK, what people can expect. We did what I think the magic is part of a part of the podcast, which is we got a pretty deep understanding of who you are as a human. Um, I'm a believer after all of this. I hope everybody else that watches this is a believer, because these are the people and the types of things, and I cannot stress this enough. You want your founders to be saying these things. These are the type of people that you want to be following, that you hope someday you could ever have a leader that says the same thing. So props to you, man. Um, let's get there, dude. So take us through, you can start off a little bit, like, let's not go back to 2013 crypto.
No.
You could, we maybe can start off with the beginning
Yeah.
of the DS. I know you've been working on it for a while. Any other tidbits of crypto before DSK that are relevant, that are interesting to you? But let's start episode 3, brother.
Yeah. So a little bit of, I always wanted to work in crypto, but I just felt like, oh, this is just all devs, technical stuff. How the hell am I supposed to start
Right,
to
right,
work in this space when I just don't like, I'm very passionate about it and I know a lot about it, but how do I apply that? And I just always was in that kind of weird limbo for a really long time.
right.
Um, and it came down to NFTs and seeing that, and it just triggered that thought of just what I've done in the past, and like I can apply myself to this, I can really make this. And then how I started DSK was I started with me and one other person that it was actually just someone that supported me on Twitter. So he didn't know anything too. He was like at my state and was just like, how do I help? And I just said, hey, learn how to create Discord. You can be our Discord guy. Because he was very much a shy person and
Right.
didn't really want to go into too big of a role, et cetera, et cetera. So he just focused on Discord. He created our Discord. He learned it, and he always just kept applying himself. He would always just help me whenever needed, and I just was very grateful for that. And I just hired an artist to make some art. And he wasn't going to bring him on actually the team. I was just like, okay, I'll pay for the art. We'll get that done. And we'll just keep going forward. And then I just realized I really liked this artist, and I was like, you know what? Hey, you want to come on the team, et cetera, et cetera. We can work things out. So yeah, it was just pretty much us three at the beginning, and to this day, and we've never announced it because he was very shy on it still, and
Okay.
was always nervous. But I actually asked him if he wanted to be a co-founder of mine. Like, this
Wow,
guy is just coming from the community, and he has actually a part of the business and a quite
that's awesome.
large percentage of it.
Yeah,
And it means a lot to me. The people around me do
yeah,
well. I'm not here to just try and take the biggest piece or just the whole pie itself.
right.
And that's again with how I'm building is I don't want to build out my whole ecosystem. That's not how healthy ecosystems live. I can't
Right,
control everything.
right.
I've learned this from being in crypto for so long,
Mm,
seeing the evolution of Ethereum, right? And
right,
that really
right.
was based around community and getting other people to build out the ecosystem. And they just were really a crutch in the earlier days. And then that's what I'm trying to be. Yes, a lot of it is centered around me at this point, but you don't see like one example, someone was just like, oh, why aren't the whitelists blue and all this? But I don't
Right,
want it to be about me, right? It is about all of us. And that's why I don't do these things where you see a lot of founders, they do it. They put it around their brand and all
mhm,
that stuff. And then the whole project's centered around them. And it's
yeah,
not that I don't want like flowers and be like, oh yes, it's all about me, like, and get that gratitude of people. It's to make a healthy ecosystem. It is so much more, and we've seen so many people fail in the past, and it's beautiful about that too is that by doing it that way, you're actually providing opportunities to people that maybe not had them before
mhm,
that. And that's why I think is so important to have ecosystems built by other peoples, because it blossoms in a way you couldn't get that or inorganically, and you couldn't get that if someone was just trying to eat the whole pie to themselves. And that
100%.
I know what I'm building is so much bigger than just one person. I want to build something that outlasts me. And I'm very much in the gaming sphere too, in that people don't realize that, but that type of stuff is really important to me, and that we will eventually be building in that scene, in that space of things. But I'm going to do it at a gradual in a gradual way. That's not just gonna be like, hey, we've dropped this game that absolutely sucks ass. Sorry, we're dead in the water. Or no, we're gonna build that up to that. And I think that the future of all sports are esports, and it's actually something that's very, very much in my interest of going down that route. I
100.
think that in 20 years we're not going to really be watching a lot of sports on TV, and because they're, not only are they harsh on people's health,
Right.
that we're going to get to a state that these things are more entertaining, that like you're going to start to see like the Apples of the world where people are wearing these things, and you're going into that augmented reality that
Yeah.
is way more naturally engaging, and you can do
Yeah.
things that you couldn't do in the other world. And it's also, again, better for people's health. People
Yeah.
aren't getting these life-ending injuries and stuff like that. That is a very big issue in this world. I do think that we're going to be watching Quidditch matches and stuff like that, like crazy
Dude,
stuff, and I want to be a part of
absolutely.
that, right?
Yeah.
I want to be that. But I knew, just me and my connections where I am at my state in my life, is that I need to work my way up to that. And I'm not just going to drop a game because I think it's going to bring in hype and stuff like that. We're going to drop a game when we know it is going to be something that people actually genuinely love.
Right.
I'm not here to just say I'm going to do a bunch of things. I rather my actions speak louder than my words, and it's usually the opposite in this space.
So, all right, man, we've already had kind of the pre-beginning story of DSK. Really do this with every guest on the show. Want to hear it. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Elevator pitch, right? You got a 10-page deck. We're in Silicon Valley. We're going to the top. You've got like a minute, 2 minutes max on why I should be interested in what you're doing, want to be a part of the community, and eventually maybe spend some money with your business.
I love that question. So yeah, the elevator pitch. It is growing the emotional connection between user and user and creator, and doing this at an affordable rate through our SaaS products. So without going into the in depth in our products are really to not only strengthen the emotional connection between users and the community, but to optimize team and be able to enable teams to do more with less.
Love it, man.
Exactly.
That sounds, and you know what's great is I can tell that you've thought about this a lot, because that was very simple and honed in, and not once did you say how much money I'm gonna make, how hyped it is. Like, you said the right things, so I really appreciate that insight. Um, One of the things that we were talking about, though, was AI, and I
Mhm.
think I'm really interested in how you're going to be using AI and DSK. Like that piqued my interest.
So what we're doing is we're creating a SaaS product that not only makes communities better, but it actually enhances the strength of teams. It allows teams to work at a higher level with less staff. So my background is that I didn't have the people around me, so I had to really put my head down and figure out how I can be more efficient with the resources I had, and that has everything to do with what we build. Um, and it's supposed to be in a way that really, it feels natural. It feels like you're a part of something, and where a lot of the tools that we see in this space is very that emotional attachment between user and prize, user and reward. And then after that reward maybe dries up, or they're not as involved anymore, they fall out. And we're in an attention seeking economy right now. It is
Yep.
so important to retain attention, and everything that we're build really supports that. So each product that we have built is built in a methodical way that really helps support those things in different avenues. So our first bots that we built were really based around engagement and emotional connection.
Yeah.
And then our second bot is very much around education and knowledge.
Yeah.
And then our third kind of bot is around monetary gains, and it can be coupled with education. So our emotional connection bots. So it was the first to market that I've seen. It's the first interactive giveaway bot. She lives autonomously in our general chat and elsewhere. Won't go too into detail with that today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you won't actually see her until you actually win a raffle ticket, and she'll randomly rain down a raffle ticket on someone. And I say to people, the only way to cheat that is to have genuine conversation with people. So like one word things. So there's a little bit of chance, there's a little bit of characteristics into it, and there's a few things that go into it.
Right.
And that really starts that organic conversation. So whether people are there for the right reasons or not, they're naturally going to gravitate to people that they enjoy talking to, and in return, whether they like it or not, they're going to have that, you know, you're going to grow that emotional connection when you start to learn about people more. It's second nature, right? It feels natural in that way, and then they get rewarded from that, and then they can use those tickets in our in-house raffle marketplace and use those in all a plethora of different raffles. And it won't just be NFTs, it's just NFTs right now, but we want to have physical things in there as well. So it's not just digital. And the reason too of why I went with raffles is, again, to try and optimize funds, optimize business. I was funding everything myself for over a year. I had to figure out ways on how I could really stretch my dollar as much as possible. And that's where I went down the raffle way. It wasn't in a deceiving way. It was just, how can I really give my audience or other audiences that dopamine hit without going broke? Because I knew I had to make it through the bear market, right? So that was really of why I went with the raffle route, and it does. It really helps out teams be able to create an experience without going broke, honestly. So it really helps keep money down, costs down. And again, this is all autonomous, so you can just burn it and go right into the raffle, and the team doesn't actually have to do anything other than upload the raffles to the marketplace. So I'm really trying to optimize teams with everything that we're doing, and a lot of the stuff that we're doing is AI relevant. So a lot of stuff is built with AI. So we actually created about 6 to 8 months ago the first scalable AI Discord bot that could enable internet learning, almost like a virtual assistant. So you could go into a general chat and ask them anything, like you kind of see in AI with other of these websites. But it's becoming a lot harder to sign up for these. There's a lot of backlog, or you're getting charged. Where this is enabling your community to do this at scale without huge overcost. And so it's not just text, we can do photos and stuff like that. And again, this is a growing the emotional connection between users, but also between user and the creator, or the designated or desired area of where they are. So it's not only creating content for businesses. So like DSK is a prime example of this. You see our AI stuff absolutely everywhere, or our art everywhere, and a majority of that is actually AI, and it really grows the emotional connection to people and those projects. And the cool thing too about doing it in their Discord, and this is why I've done this, is it's really to keep people's retention in these quarters. So it really brings people back. It helps create a really unique environment. So that's just one of our products. And another one that we use AI in is our automated newsletter bot. So we've created an automated newsletter bot that is backed by AI. So it really helps with construction of your newsletter. And it also helps, just with the structure of it. But the cool thing too about it is that it's got analytics as well. So it's not just text. You'll see charts and stuff like that of current stuff that's crypto related, NFT related, and it can be used every single day. It could be used every week. It could be every month. It's really to enable creators. So it's not just businesses, it's not
Yeah.
just projects, but it's individuals as well. You can use this in someone's personal brand to really to provide an experience to people. And by doing different bots, enabling with our already kind of engagement bot, it creates this very strong structure that each pillar helps the other pillar out. And
Love it.
it brings that retention back to that desired place.
Yeah.
And that desired place isn't just ours. We're trying to make other people's spaces better. So if it's Discord, or if it's a personal brand, it's bringing those people back and giving them a reason to come back.
Yeah.
And just if you just reward people with prizes, it's not always going to get that kind of what's the word, that you
Commitment
can only,
maybe,
yeah,
or
commitment. That's a great word. You can get that user to that prize only to so much, right? Where if you have different values, it's not just monetary gains, where it's
right,
knowledge, it is useful products. That's when you really retain that retention with people.
right.
And what we're trying to do is just make other people's communities better. And if we could do it within our own quarters, we know that it's going to sell and going to make other communities better, because we are the example. We have been the sandbox for the last year and a half, and it's exactly what we're doing. We're not only trying to make our place, our quarters and our Discord better, but other people as well.
Dude, I love it, man. And I think that's a perfect segue into what's currently happening. Love to hear whatever you want to share about. You mentioned it's a free mint, when mint, things that we can expect maybe over the next couple weeks, couple months. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I don't like to say when mint, just because there's so many delays that can happen in so
Totally
many
cool.
different areas. But I will say I'm trying to aim to mint within this next month.
Right.
And the first mint will be 222. We didn't do any collabs, or handpicked absolutely everyone outside of our partnerships, where I'm allowing our partnerships to do whatever they please with it. So like whether if they want to handpick, do some raffles. Every partner that we've partnered with is someone that's or is a business that's being well respected in the space. So all of our partners are already established businesses within the space, and you know what, they got a good head on their shoulders. Who am I to say what you do with them? Just because I'm doing things differently, I like to give them
Right.
that opportunity as
But you
well.
vetted them and you
Yeah,
believe in it,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
which is
Oh, yeah. Oh,
important,
100%.
right?
100%. I
Right.
only partnered with people that I saw as genuine builders in the space. So you'll see us with like the Plague, Space Riders, UA3, Saints, and there's still more to be announced. These are all people that are building actual product,
Yeah.
that are backing them and are very much care about their community. Everyone that we've released are very much community orientated around that, and
Right.
that means a lot to me,
Dude, I
because
love it.
we're going to be beta testing all of our products with them first too. So
Yeah.
we're scaling this in a way that, again, I feel comfortable with. And we're not just going to jump right into it. We're going to make sure that we perfect these things and ensure that they are of use, and that they, you know what, are do what they are intended to do, right, at scale. Because it's one thing to do in your own Discord, it's another thing to start doing it at scale. And I don't want to just start selling something and then have some road bumps. So again, just taking the very calm approach, but I'm being very it's not that we're like taking things super slow, it's that we're doing it at a manageable rate.
Yeah, and you're doing it intentionally too. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
very important, right? No, fantastic feedback. I think that the next natural evolution of the question is so, and again, I always say this: number one rule as a founder, do not overshare or overpromise. It's the number one killer of founders in this space. So for the
Mhm.
next 6 to 12 months, anything like what do you expect, or what do you think about when you think about the future?
Yeah, yeah. And before I go into that too, is I'll add as well, all the products that I've been speaking about is either already complete or very close to being complete. So we are trying to innovate. We're trying to think of outside the box. So again, I'm not going to be overly public about those things just
Right.
because we're trying to do new stuff.
Right.
So yeah, without going too much into detail, our first mint was not supposed to be hyped. I actually was supposed to underhype it. We've created quite a bit of hype around it,
Yeah.
but that came naturally. But yeah, so our first mint was supposed to be underhyped, just very personal to the community, making sure that I can genuinely get a good feel on people. I feel like if our Discord had thousands of people in it, it would be really hard to figure out who's being genuine, who's being
Right.
disingenuine. So it is very small by design. We actually just hit 500 people in our Discord for the first time. So we could have thousands if I please, but it's just not. I
Yeah.
feel like it'd be a lot harder to figure out who's being actually genuine. Underhyping our first collection, and we're kind of bottling up that potential and that hype, because I know hype can be created whenever. That's why I'm really focused on creating a sustainable and just a really good culture for everyone. So our next mint is actually going to be a widespread event that I can't go too much into detail right now because it's never been done in the space before, but
Love it.
it's using our products, and I believe that it is an incredible way to not only market our products, but to get our name out there and to have a very innovative way to really grow our community and expand our community, right? Because any
Yep.
successful business, they have to expand, right?
Yeah.
We can't just stay at 222 and think
No.
that we're going to take over Web3.
No.
We have to do this, and I'm trying to do it in ways that have never been done before. Yes, there might be mistakes and stuff like that, but I honestly do believe the people that I've brought to this, like our partnerships and the people that I continue to speak with in behind the scenes, are the people that I need to make this a real success. And I think that we're on trajectory to do that. It is new, so you never know, but I'm very, very bullish on this, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we can go into it a little bit more on other talks, but I just can't go too into depth with it.
Dude, I love that you're already foreshadowing some other talks. So this is good because I'd love to talk to you again. With that being said, I think we have covered a plethora of information. I want to get close to be cognizant of time. We both are very busy. My son is not screaming yet, but he could be at any moment.
My daughter just started.
I've got one last question. I lied to you. I asked you two questions. This one is a softball. It's easy, but I always do this just because I'm genuinely honest in feedback and criticism or whatever you say. So, as you said, you've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of Twitter spaces, been a part of hundreds of Twitter spaces, and now you've experienced the Midlife Crisis podcast and kind of our unique format. Would love to hear your thoughts about it. Any feedback from me? Have at it, man.
Honestly, it's going to be a lot of flowers because I really like how you structure it. You made me always feel comfortable, even though I was a little bit nervous. It's something new to do. So honestly, you've been incredible. I've been in a lot of Twitter spaces. I actually don't go to as many Twitter spaces as I probably should, just because I don't like the atmosphere that you normally see in those. It's
Right.
very entertainment, belittling other people just to get impressions. It's
Mhm.
just not my cup of tea, and you've never shown me that, and you've always been loving and caring, and honestly that's the vibe that I love being around, and I have to love my environment to want to put myself in that.
Yeah.
And you crushed it, man. I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to do another one.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. Like, that is 100% what we're looking for. Like I said, our mission, bringing back the lost art of genuine human connection. And it means the world to me. Again, a little warm and fuzzy that you felt that way, because that's my intention. So I'm going to say my closing words, since you just gave me a bunch of amazing closing words, and then we will close it out and absolutely be doing something else in the future. I cannot wait. But I mean, dude, there's so many things that struck me over this conversation. One, I truly believe you could be a brother from another mother. Two, and I say this with 100% certainty, you are the type of person that is going to be a leader in the future in the space of Web3 because you are saying the right things. And the word that I was really thinking about as you were talking about the future in your project is you're doing it with meaningful intention. And there's so many people that are not doing it. You can tell you've thoroughly thought out just even your initial rollout of 222, and you already have things to come. And then what you said about me is you can feel the genuine love and the care part too. And it's so critically important. And I'll say, man, the last thing is I hope we're friends for life. And on top of that, you've actually made me extremely more bullish that the last guy, the nice guy, can actually not finish last if we link up together. And I think I just found another one, and I'm ready to freaking grow together. And literally, this conversation is going to be having me go through brick walls all weekend because I am so jazzed up to cut this together, and it's gonna be amazing. So thank you so much, man. Thank you for your time, especially as how busy you are and where you're at of trying to mint here soon. It means the world to me. The number one thing I think everybody has that is the most valuable thing is time. So really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, man. And I, again, look forward to doing more of these. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the clips. So, again, thank you.
Yeah. And with that being said, we are cutting out the Midlife Crisis show for the day. We have so many more cool ass guests coming up. I cannot wait to get the Imaginary Ones founders back on the show. They are genuinely some amazing people creating in the space. We're going to have some touch ups and many, many more to come. Cannot wait to see you all. Mikey G and Midlife Crisis and my boy Blue are out.
Peace out.